All right, welcome everybody. Happy Monday. Thanks everybody for being here. And thanks to Nikki and her social committee for putting all this together. This is for our homecoming week, which the point of this was to bring everybody back together to learn. There's a lot of history here that I don't know, along with the other agents here that are newer in this market center. And so this is just to get everybody, we're kind of putting all the party back together again and just really getting reacquainted and re-engaged. And I just am so happy that everybody was able to make it on a Monday. So happy Monday.
If you are on the social committee, please stand up because y'all have worked your tails off on this. Please just do it. Come on, Ashley.
Come on, stand up.
Come on. Fun this week. Thank y'all for being here. And I was talking with Clark a minute ago. I get to put my husband in a hot seat this morning. This might be the first and last time, so y'all enjoy it. So yeah, you ready to walk down memory lane a little bit?
Ready to walk down memory lane?
All right.
All
let's
right,
do it.
here we go.
Come on.
Come on, Miss Pond.
This is not the first time she's had me in the hospital. And it won't be the last. No, for real.
He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit in that seat." I was like, "Nope, that's my seat today, buddy." So anyway, y'all, this place has completely changed the trajectory of our family. And so we are so excited to share this journey with you guys this morning. And so I guess we will start out by asking why that picture's up there and how you got to KW.
Well, so you guys know the other guy in that picture, right? Who's the other guy? Well,
It's a little unsettling to walk in and see that.
so I got into real estate in 1996 and spent a few years in resale. And then I went to a new homes company called Millard Bowen Communities. And shortly after I got there, Bob Hartwell was an agent there for a long time, and then he had gone to do something else. He came back and became the director of sales and marketing for Millard Bowen Communities. So Bob was my boss for a decade. And he was just an amazing boss, amazing guy, amazing broker. And he convinced me all the time that I was gonna do great things and take over a company. And he'd always say, "You're gonna be the CEO of a company one day." And he gave me opportunity in Millard Bowen Communities to be a sales director, a field sales manager. So I was in the field selling houses and also managing agents, kind of a first line of defense for Bob. Would train all the agents and that kind of thing. So then, and this picture right here, this was in 2006. Who was in the business in 2006? What was happening in 2006?
Same thing that happened in 2021.
Well, 2006 was good. Amazing. So I heard in the room.
Precipice of the cliff.
Yeah, kind of a little bit like what was going on in 2021, okay? And so in 2006, this is me and Bob at the Home Builders Association in Orlando. In Orlando this year, there were 103,000 attendees.
In 2006.
2006, pardon me, thank you. 103,000 attendees at this Home Builders Convention. And I was getting an award for the Sales and Marketing Council. I'd earned a designation that was super rare. So Bob went down to Florida to support me, and this is us. I've got the thing right there. And so shortly after this picture, and in fact, Bob and I were just saying, we were in a class that I needed to take to get this designation, and it was in 2006. And people in that meeting were talking about, oh, I've just got people lined up in my model home. And I tell them, you got 5 minutes in the seat and you better have a full price offer pre-approved or just get up because the next person is right there coming in after you. And we were having this whole conversation. Bob and I were in that same class and we're like, this is nuts. This conversation is nuts. These people are the customer and the agent is annoyed at the customer And the agent is talking that way to the customer. So Bob actually stood up in that meeting. He says, I'm just telling you all something right now. This is not sustainable. The conversation that you're having and the way that you're talking about the customer is crazy and it's not sustainable. And so shortly after that, we hit a wall, 2007, 2008. And so I really loved who I worked for. I loved Bob Miller Bowen. It was an amazing company with great people. And I would have spent the rest of my career there. And we hit a wall, and it was a Great Recession. And if you know anything about the Great Recession, new homes was hit 10 times harder than resale.
I still have PTSD.
Yes, yeah, a little twitchy.
Yeah.
And Jason would say in that time, I didn't lose my job, I just lost my income.
Yeah.
And so he, it was just, that was a crazy place to be. Still had a job.
Wait, you're getting paid?
Not paid. Is very, very, very low pay. And so, we don't need to talk about that everything we did during that transition. But there was a point in time through prayer and fasting and Nikki and I being together and united on this where I just had the decision, I need to leave this company and go find something else, because we had a burn rate, we trimmed everything, we had a burn rate, we had some savings, but we were just going through it. I mean, I had a wife, a house, 3 children, the path I was on was not a good one. And so then I started looking for a real estate company. I had my broker's license. I had wanted to, I've been leading people. I wanted to go into resale because there was a lot more opportunity. I've been a resale agent for a number of years. And I began to interview to take over real estate companies as a managing broker. Remax, Trilike, Coldwell Banker, Prudential. Nikki was Dan Forsman. Dan Forsman was the CEO of Prudential, and she taught my son in kindergarten. We knew them whenever I got licensed. And then Bob, and I had several offers, but I just was unsettled about them. In fact, one of them was a fairly decent, I probably shouldn't say this, but one of them was a fairly decent offer by someone who people in the industry would say is kind of like the devil. And
it was a fun offer.
it was a good offer. Yes, it was. And so are you still paying?
I think I'm in the hot seat now. No.
And so, but this person was offering me a $10,000 signing bonus, and we were coming to the end of the road. And I was like, okay, well, I'm probably going to take that and go to work there. And I got red flag after red flag after red flag. And I didn't want to be in business with this person at all, but I had a responsibility. And I'm just willing to do whatever it takes. And we were in the kitchen at our house. And by the way, we built our dream home. We started construction in 06 and we ended construction in March of 07, and we moved in March of 07 into our dream home. And then the market hit an absolute wall in 08. But so we're in the house, in the kitchen, and Nikki said to me, she said, honey, how many red flags do you need to see before you tell this person no? Thanks, baby. I really appreciate that. I needed to hear that from my wife, So I told the person no, and about that time, Bob and I were talking, and he said, hey, I want to introduce you to somebody who owns the Keller Williams in Beaufort, which happens to be about 3 miles from my house. And so he introduced me to Brian Fair, who was the operating partner of this, founder of Keller Williams Atlanta Partners. And he made that introduction. And so I called Brian, and Brian didn't have time to talk to me. So he put me off on Paige Powers. And Paige Powers was one of the, not the original, but shortly after this Market Center started, she was the team leader here. And she was the team leader here through the great run-up before the Great Recession. So I went and interviewed with Paige, and
you're so excited. And, throughout this process, it would be like, interview with the broker, get a job offer, interview with the broker, get a job offer, interview with the broker, get a job offer. And so what happened here is he went and talked with Paige, and I'm like, so? And he's like, yeah, they'll call me. I was like, oh, okay. And so then it's like, it just kept kind of like dragging
It
on.
did. It was right at the family reunion time. And so Brian, so I met with Paige, and Paige, the MREA book and the Shift book, and she may tell some of this too.
Yeah, don't see it like that.
Okay, no, I won't tell that. But I read the MREA book on Saturday and I read the Shift book on Sunday. And when I read those books, I was like, holy cow, this is the answer. This is the formula for a successful real estate practice. Like the MREA book and the Shift book were just amazing gold to me. And this company had those resources. And so Dr. Brian, and Brian's like, yeah, I'm going to this convention and then our family's on vacation after that. So 2 months from now, then we'll meet. I'm like, no, man. And Brian was just kind of like, hey, if this time it doesn't work out, it's okay, But I said, well, I hear you have this family reunion coming up. I know there's no better way to learn the good and bad and ugly of a company than to go to their convention, but it'd be okay if I go to that. He said, yeah, get with Paige and get a ticket. So I called Paige, got a ticket, and I needed to buy a ticket. And again, we were broke and burn rate, we didn't have the money. I was going to put it on a credit card. And
We could find one.
if we could find one that wasn't matched, we were going to put it on a credit card. Yeah,
It was-
right. Whoever said that, you
It
nailed
was
it.
that bad.
It was all for sure. Like that lady that asked Bob in his neighborhood, honey, do you need a sandwich? It was that bad. So my spiritual mentor, I was talking with him and John Clovis. John Clovis at that time was 80 years old, was just a guy that I met in the neighborhood one time. He bought a house in one of the neighborhoods I was in, and our hearts were bound together. He was a godly man, and we would go to lunch once a month. Just an amazing guy. Well, his wife was the head of admissions for the school that Brian and Marcy's kids go to. And so he knew them. So I was like, hey, would you mind putting in a good name? This Brian guy keeps pushing me on. I mean, a good word for me. And he said, yeah. He said, I'm going to this. I'm going to the family reunion convention. He said, son, do you have the money to do that with? I said, yeah, I've got it covered. He said, no, that's not what I asked. Do you have the money to do that? I said, yeah, I've got it. I'm good. And he said, look, you don't know me. He said, you know me well enough to know that I don't use these words. What words are that? He said, God told me to give you the money to go to this convention and because this is where you need to go. And I was like, no, man, because I didn't want to take help. My pride didn't want me to take help. And so we met in the parking lot, John and Linda and me and Nikki, and he gave me $600. He said, how much does it cost? I said, well, the ticket is this much. The hotel's going to be that much. I'm driving my car, Honda Accord, good guess, man. And so he gave me $600 in Visa credit cards, American Express, whatever. And so that was the money that I used to go to a family reunion.
So you got there and you had one objective.
Get in front of Brian Fair.
So tell them about the phone call and show them the
Okay.
picture.
Oh, yes. So this is the site of the Orlando Convention Center. And this is where we were. We're in Orlando. And keep in mind, just 3 years before this, because this was February of 2009, 3 years before this, I was at the same convention center with 103,000 attendees on the high of our life career. And now I'm back, forging a path for my family. Like, what's going to happen? I literally felt like a settler going out, forging up. I got my Honda Accord. I bought a ticket. I'm like, I'm driving to Orlando. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. And I didn't have a good pair of shoes. So I bought 2 new pairs of shoes, dress shoes, not these super comfortable type things you get to wear 2023. Leather hard bottoms, okay? Leather hard bottoms, not broken in, put them from the box into my car, drove to Orlando. And if you've ever walked to the Orlando Convention Center, you know that it is a lot of walking, like 20,000 steps a day. And so I met Brian and Marcy, and I wanted to get in front of them and have conversations because I wanted to have this opportunity. And so Nikki and I were talking on the cell phone, and I was like walking from the from from this end of the convention center, down 17 there, through the little thing, then down to the other west end. I mean, it's literally a freaking mile, so 10 miles. So I'm walking and by this time in the convention, my heels are a hamburger. Like they were just totally destroyed. And so I'm like, ow, 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 ow. You know, but I see on the first level, and I'm on the second level, I see Brian and Marcy walking this way, and then there's an escalator, and I told Nikki, I was like, oh man, there's that Brian guy, I gotta go. I was like, I gotta make sure that I'm, and so like, I'm, ow, 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 ow. And I run down the escalator, excuse me, and I hit the bottom of the escalator. By the time Brian and Marcy are walking by, I'm like, oh, hey. Brian, right? Yeah, Jason, yeah, things out. And it's funny because I kept inserting myself into their spots the whole convention. And afterwards, they were like, it was so weird. You weren't always there. I had no idea what was going on. It's like this guy, like, we can't get him off, So.
And that was funny. We've laughed about that for years now because they're like, he was everywhere. I was creepy. You spent the time at that conference and it was really valuable for you because you heard Gary and Mo and Mary, all the leadership at the company. And when you were driving home that time, you called me and you said something that was like, okay, I mean, this is going down. And what was that?
It was a remarkable statement because I knew two things. Number one, yes, Mo Anderson was like from the stage, God, family, businessman, pulling no punches. Gary Keller's like, we're going to take over the world. Mark Willis is, yeah, this is who we are. And, Mary, Mark, Mo, and Gary, it sounded like the Three Stooges, but that was the executive leadership team of KW at the time. And they're just amazing people. And I heard them from the stage of this convention, just like walking and talking and doing everything, God, family, business, Y4C2Ts, where we were in market share in the country and where we're going. And I just read the Shift book and just read MREA. And I mean, I am on fire. And also it's worth noting that I did also meet the ALC there and everybody. So Sugarloaf hosted me there. Buford wasn't really supposed to know that I was there looking for a team leader role. And
I don't know that Brian, I mean, like you just showed up.
Yeah,
so.
right. Well, yeah, Brian, the last thing Brian knew was, yeah, if you want to come to that Dr. Page. And then it's like, hey, there's that guy. But so I kept, I knew who the people were. And so like Teresa Smith, Teresa's an investor and original agent in this market center. And so there was ALC members and some of the people from Buford there, and I kind of kept showing up there too. And we were at a dinner, and so we're all at this dinner, and then they were like, hey, they flew in there, or they didn't have cars. Like, we need to go over to this other place. Who's got a car? I was like, I got a car. And there were like 8 of us, and I have a Honda Accord. And so we all piled into my Honda Accord, and we go to, and I'm taking them somewhere, and Teresa is behind me in the back seat. And somebody started talking. Okay, there were a few drinks in at this point. And somebody started talking some really raunchy stuff. I mean, like, and Teresa was like, you don't need to hear this. And so I'm driving. And from behind me, she reaches around the headrest and puts her fingers into my ear. So I'm driving down the road and Teresa Smith's fingers are in my ear. And she's like, you can't, we want you to stick. I don't want you to And so after having fun with the group, seeing some of the people, seeing KW, understanding the material and that there's a roadmap to success, knowing what the foundational pieces of the company were, all of those things, and also the confirmation in my heart, the confirmation from John, my spiritual mentor, the payment to go and just like it all came together. And I told Nikki on the way home, I said, baby, I know 2 things. Number 1, this is the company we're going to align with for the rest of my career. And number 2, I'm absolutely who Brian Fair needs to take over that market center. I'm exactly who he needs. And so I came back. And Nikki was like, all right, babe, let's do it, And so I came back and I met with Bob, Bob just raised his hand.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say, when you came back and you came to me and you said, that's where I'm going, you were like over the moon. I mean, you were just like so pumped. And I was really happy for you, but I was really bummed too. Because it was, you know, we could see it fading out.
Yeah. Well, and I did not go, just, it's worth noting, I did not go look for, I didn't have one single conversation with or about another company before I went to Miller Bowen first. And I sat down with Miller and I said, man, thank you so much. I love you. You've been a mentor. You've given me opportunities I can't imagine. And I need to go look for something else. And I was crying and he was crying and he said, you need to go, son. There's nothing left here for you. And so before I talked to the first person at another company, I had permission from Miller to go do that. And so, you know, I'm the guy Brian needs, and this is the company I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. I came back and I told Brian that,
And so he believed you,
and he believed me.
which was amazing.
It was awesome.
So, so you got here and I remember we kind of came in and we were like getting your office ready. And for those of you that know Jennifer Mest, Jennifer's just amazing, amazing presence. And we were kind of painting Jason's office and she kind of peeked her head in there. She's like, I'm not sure you're supposed to be doing that. And we're like, oh, okay, well, we already broke the rules.
Yeah.
So here we go.
It's not in the approved color palette.
And she walked by your desk. I remember Jason came home the first day and he's like, well, I got my desk all set up and I'm ready. And so, you know, when you got here and you're in the role, what was your first goal? Do you remember?
Yeah. So the first goal was to cast a new vision for the market. So it was in the depths of real estate hell. I mean, it was carnage everywhere. Everyone was bleeding bodies everywhere. Just, it was a tough spot. This market center had gone from 196 agents down to 50. And that was not because of the leadership of this market center. That was reflective of the industry. The industry hemorrhaged agents. We went from over 1.5 million agents down to, I think, 875, 900,000 agents in the country. And this area was hit particularly bad because if you recall, the lake was at a historic low. There was a historic drought. And we're in the suburbs, and you know, in 2009, we were way more suburb than we are now. It was way more out there than it is now. And you know, whenever things expand, people drive till they qualify and it goes out. And whenever things begin to shrink, the market as a whole contracts closer to the city center. So that had happened at a large scale. This market center was not profit sharing, which is a foundational tenet of this company, to share 49% of the profit back to the agents who helped the company to grow. And so we were carrying a loss. We were not profit sharing. We were not profiting. And we had hemorrhaged agents, and morale was very, very low. And again, it had nothing to do with previous leadership here. It just had to do with that's the state of things at that time. And so I knew that I needed to come in and cast a new vision. And so we conspire. Nikki and I conspire on everything, by the way. If you ever see anything that I've done well, it's because we've conspired on it. And if you ever see anything she's done well, it's because she did a great job at it. So we're like, you know what? Everybody wants to make $100,000. Like that's an agent when they first start or if they're struggling, they want to make 6 figures. So we made this place the home of the 6-figure agent. And so I went back to the design guy at Bowen and I'm like, hey man, I need a logo. You know, like all good real estate agents, I need a logo. And so I need a logo. This isn't it. I couldn't find it, darn it. But right there, about where those hooks are, maybe the same hooks, there was a massive sign that said home of the 6-figure agent. And these little dollar signs were on all of the ceiling tiles. And like, we're going to be the home of the 6-figure agent. Here's where you come to make $100,000 or more in real estate. This is where you need to be. And so I rallied together an ALC that was behind the vision and turning things around, got the staff together, and it was like, we're going to take over the world here in this place. And by the way, the market center was nowhere. I don't even think we're in the top 20 in market share in Gwinnett County and in those areas. I mean, as far as competing in the Atlanta Partners Group or the Southeast region, or from a brokerage perspective on market share, it was just not existing.
And when we were talking, we kind of were talking about what we wanted to share today. If you'll click to the next slide. Oh, this was your mission statement.
Yep.
To provide a
And-
positive, yeah.
And the ALC, we came up
Yes.
with this together to provide a positive, encouraging, productive environment for agents to grow profitable business while achieving their personal and professional goals. So this became who we became the culture of our company is productivity. Like you're six-figure agent. And also we're about your personal achievement as well, and a positive and encouraging, uplifting, great environment to be part of.
And I think that was so important because when Jason went to family reunion, I think the thing that you heard that you didn't necessarily say was you heard hope.
For sure.
We had been in just the depths of despair for 18 months and he drove back and all he felt was hope. Like, we can make it, we can do this. Like there is another life out there beyond what we've been experiencing. And so you wanted to bring that back and that just became your inspiration. It's like, I want to share hope. If we always tease Jason about being the what? Charts and graphs guy, right? And what's so funny is that you really weren't always a charts and graphs guy. Spoiler alert, right? That was not always your thing, but you kind of shared with me that it became your thing because
I had to be able to tell this story. I needed to be the leader of the band. I needed to be the one who understood the market and was able to translate that into the hope that people needed in this place. And so we're going to make it isn't good enough. It's just not. Why are we going to make? Show me proof. Show me. Here's the proof. Here's what's going on. Here's where we are. Here are the little turning points in the data. Here's what the real estate market, here's what the industry is telling us. Here's what's going on right here in our backyard. This is how you can use that to have hope and be able to achieve your goals. This is also who you need to be to your people, because you need to be the economist of choice for the people who trust you with their real estate deals. I do love the data of the real estate industry, or really any in financial, economic, all of those things. Now, I'm not a high C person. People think they peg me as a high C person because of my love for the market and charts and graphs and data and those kinds of things. I'm not a high C person. I'm an ID, and the ID are interchangeable. And so depending on and I have no S and a midline, like below the line, but midline C, but I'm not a high C person. But I made myself understand the market because that's who I needed to be, to do what I needed to do to help you achieve what you needed and wanted to achieve. And then by doing so, I would achieve what I want to achieve.
I just think it's so cool. And now you're the charts and graphs.
Now in the charts, it's like I can't get away from it, which is okay. I love it.
And Teresa and I snooze sometimes, and that's when you know you gotta move on.
Yeah,
so.
I look at, if Teresa's in the room or Nikki's in the room, they're like my barometer. I count yawns in the room, and I look at Teresa and I look at Nikki, and either one of them are like. And if both of them were like that, click, 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 click.
So a couple of months after you kind of got settled, you were like, all right, it's time to have some fun, because the work was hard. And you're like, just because it's hard doesn't mean it can't be fun. And so that's when the pictures that we kind of teased you guys with on Facebook came into play. So Jason's like, look, I want to do a game show. And so that was the first of several. And he's like, we got to get a wig, and I'm going to do my shirt. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
This is the high I part of me.
And my high S is like, are they still gonna like you? Like, are they gonna be okay? I don't know.
I think you need to button that top.
Yeah, so clearly, because there's a lot of that. But anyway, so here's the. Oh my gosh, Julie.
Teresa, Julie, Stacy D, and and game show host there.
Here's Tony Schick on the way right
Tony
hand
down
side.
there. So we played the dating game. Yeah, that's a. So we played the dating game, and I know, so Nikki told me that when her and Teresa were talking, Teresa's like, we didn't do the dating game. Like, not only did I do the dating game, you were in the dating game. She won. She did. She got all the expenses paid trip with Grant. The lender, yeah, Grant was the loan officer at the time, and
Oh my
he had
gosh.
all expenses paid vacation.
Yes.
To nowhere.
Yeah, all expenses
To
paid
nowhere.
vacation. And so Teresa's like, why did we do the dating game? And it was like, it was August of '09. I said, because we were in the depths of real estate hell. And we needed to have fun, you know, like, that's why we did it. There was no content or real like purpose behind that, other than we got together in this room and we just had a blast. And so it was fun. We had the best PowerPoint ever with sounds and all of the little, I even have like a little, we'll put it on Facebook, but when I was looking for the pictures, I found a video and it's like a little video slideshow with the dating game music on it. So I'll put that on. And also, by the way, she's talking about decorating. And on the way in, there were a couple of people talking, was it Vanderwolf and Julie? We're talking about decorating when we, and Scooter. So Ashley is Scooter. And the reason she's Scooter to me, and I always call her Scooter, that's the only name that you are to me, is because at one of the family reunions, she had messed her foot up and she was on one of those scooters. You know, like with one leg, you know, and so she's like bring, 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 all around the convention center. So I called her a Scooter then, and it's always a Scooter. So but there was a time where they were decorating for something, and y'all were talking just right out there, and they were like, we're decorating because there's nothing else to do. And but there was one time where they were all in a decorating meeting, and they said, you know what we need for this? Yeah, you know what we need for this? And so I was like, what? And they said, we need like a bundle of wheat, like dry wheat. And Nikki chimes into that statement and says, I have some wheat in my car. So she runs out to her car and comes back with a bundle of wheat. From her car. Why? I was like, what just happened? But so yeah, we had fun. Wait, I have some wheat in my car.
You threw me off track. So if you'll go to that, so Jamie, so these were just some of the other games we
Yeah,
did.
we played The Price is Right because people were overpriced, and there was content to the other two games. There was a purpose.
Yes.
The Price is Right was a game about scripts and dialogues on how to get price reductions and how to price the properties properly. And then Wheel of Fortune was all about broker terms and things like that. So we did have content. You know, the dating game was just stupid fun, but the other games were not just dress up. So, and then I think this is where you go.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Oh.
so
Oh, what a day.
January 19, 2010. It was a normal Tuesday morning. We were all in this room, just like we are right now. And Jason was at the front of the room. And
So I was presenting team meeting.
yeah, team meeting.
And so Marlene came around the back there and, you know, like Marlene knows better than to interrupt me when I'm presenting my team. You know, she's like, and I ignored her for the first couple of minutes and I'm like, oh, pardon me, just one moment. And I walked to the back into that area right there. She said, I think the building's on fire. And so she says, it's down here. So I walk down to that corner and I look around and smoke is billowing out of that bathroom hallway. And so I was like, I think the building is on fire. So I turned around, I walked back to the front of the room. I said, okay, everybody, I need you to stay calm. And I need you to just pick up exactly what you have right here. Do not go back into your offices. I want you to go straight out the front door the building is on fire. I said, do not go to your office, do not go anywhere else, go directly out the front door. And so everybody's filing out, everyone's like, you know, everybody filing out, and Sean Motis, I wish Sean was here, he's like, I think it's in the bathroom right there. And so there was a fire extinguisher on the wall, and I was like, yeah, that's where it is. And so I grabbed the fire extinguisher, and he kicked the door open, and I'm like, and like literally the ceiling tile was just boiling with fire. And so the ceiling tile was boiling with fire. I'm hitting it with I unloaded the whole fire extinguisher on that fire, threw it down, and we ran out. And incidentally, so so I called Brian, and I'll go back to the fire extinguisher thing. I called Brian, my OP at the time, and he wouldn't answer the phone. Brian never answers the phone. Brian, hey, just everybody's okay. It's okay, but the building's on fire, and you know it's gonna be all right. But give me a call whenever you get a chance. You know? And so then I've been in business with Brian Fair for almost 15 years, and I've never known him to be sick and out of commission at home sleeping, except this one time. It was the middle of the day, and he had just been destroyed by some kind of virus, and he was asleep. And he woke up to all these voicemails on his phone, like, the Buford building's on fire. Hey, just so you know, the Buford building's on fire. But the fire department guy, when they got it all done, they said, man, if you wouldn't have unloaded that fire extinguisher, the entire building would have been lost. And I was like, Brian, the fire department said, he goes, why didn't you let that building burn? Man, I missed the assignment, you know?
That's what me and Ashley said too.
Yeah, like, what are you doing there?
So, there was one office in the whole building that got demolished,
It was your office.
and Marcy Farrell.
Marcy Farrell.
So, fun fact, if I can just take 2 seconds. Marcy got licensed in like June of 2009? August. Okay, so, and I got licensed in September of 2009. So we got licensed just like, and when Jason was in the building with Marcy, when she was getting her license, he was like, hey, there's this really nice lady. And she said, if you need all of her materials like the study, and she sent them home to you, and her name is Marcy. And so when I got licensed, I came and met Marcy, and, you know, we really connected instantly. And so I don't know how many months we were here, and Marcy friended me on Facebook. And I will never forget, at the time, I was in the very corner office by your office. I don't know who's in there now, but I was sitting at my computer, and I saw the friend request come through. And I was like, wait a minute. Marcy's maiden name is Mulvane. I said, no, that's not true. So I ran home, which is like 3 minutes away, crawled up in my attic, got my yearbook from 2nd grade. Marcy was my best friend in 2nd grade. Yeah. And so
They had like Cabbage Patch dolls or something.
so I ran home, I got my yearbook, I ran back to the office, and I may post that picture on Facebook too. I opened the yearbook, I was like, this is you, and this is me, and this is us. How this is happening right now? Which is why we instantly connected. We had like matching, if y'all remember, like Cabbage Patch things, like our moms had us matching adoption dolls made. And so we were in your office now when the fire happened, and our dolls were in there because they were like, you know, like we had like the whole thing, including all of our short sale files, which got demolished. So we were like crying because of our short sale files. So anyway, I just had to share that because it's such a fun story. It's such a small world. So anyway, so what happened was the fire department was like, yeah, this building is now completely shut down. And I know we have to start talking way faster, but the building is completely shut down. So what happened?
So this was a real test of leadership because, you know, I mean, I've been leading the office and it was, you know, a great group of people here. But right now, their place of doing business was no longer accessible, and a lot of their stuff was damaged, and it just was it was tough. Like I had a lot of upset agents that what are we going to do? So So I immediately got into action. I found us a temporary location. It was in another KW territory. I talked to the other OP, got approval for us to be in there as a temporary space. Signed a lease, like my first commercial lease I ever signed in my life, you know, and it was all hands on deck. But a lot of it was late nights of working to move. My goal was this market center was not going to be interrupted by this fire. There were plenty of distractions in the market that would derail my agents. This is not going to be one of them. And so we secured this space, moved stuff into it. Nikki and I were painting the wall in the foyer KW red, took the Keller Williams Atlanta Partners like die cut letters off of the foyer here, took them there, all of the chairs, projector, you know, desks, everything. And this happened on one Tuesday during team meeting. And the next Tuesday, we held a fully functioning team meeting in the temporary space. And business did not stop. And so
Yeah,
that's.
and switch chairs. So this was Jason's email signature at that time, and it says the road to success is dotted with many tempting parking spaces. And you know, that season, the fire, the temporary space, the market itself, COVID, there have been a lot of opportunities for us, me, people in your world to just park it. It's why you guys see the realtor holiday symbol year after year after year. And you know, in that season, I think that I saw a passion reborn in you to leave no man behind. You know, like your passion is for people. It's like you never want anybody to feel left behind. And so it's one of the things I admire about you. And I loved watching your leadership in that time because you're like, no, this is not going to derail you. This is not going to stop you from earning living from your family. And, you know, there's just many spaces that, you know, that's shown up over time. And I love that. And that's actually kind of when you started using a lot of mantras again. And I just wonder, what do mantras do for you? And how have they impacted you? And why have you dug into them so deeply?
Yeah. So if you've spent any time in any type of consulting relationship with me at all, you know that I'm a mantra guy. Like I just have these one-liner sayings that play in my head. And, you know, no parking is one of them. Don't take realtor holiday. That's another one. There's just so many. I have no idea why this thing is decided to start ringing. That is just something that is deeply rooted in me because what it does is it creates a space where I talk to myself instead of listening to myself. So I can listen to myself and I have terrible self-talk of doubt and discouragement that would tell me that I'm not good enough, I'm not a good leader, they're not going to listen to you, you're failing them, you're failing you, you're failing your family. All of those self-talk things that try to break me down, my spirit. And so I have to talk to myself and set that framework for who I am and who I'm going to be instead of listening to myself and allow that self-talk to pull me down. So mantras, affirmation, I don't care what that little girl in the mirror, you know, my life is great, my hair is great, my whole house is great. You know, it's like there is something to having mantras in your life that shape your thinking so that you can be who you need to be, to do what you need to do so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. And no parking became the mantra of that season because look, just like it says, the road to success is dotted with many tempting parking spaces. And you just can't do that. You can't keep your feet moving. You know, like anytime in football, you're like, you know, like keep your feet moving. Let's go. It's action oriented. Right now, we're skills based and activities based market. The same way we were in 2009, 10, 11, skills based, activities based. Do not pull off the side of the road. No parking here. Let's go. We got things to do. Life is too short. My calling is too great. We've got too great of things that we're trying to achieve together to pull off the side of the road. And so that was, and Realtor Holiday is another one that's just kind of has stuck through and stood the test of time because we hit that season every year of our lives where we can, you know, take the exit ramp there and just, you know, coast for a while.
This is a 3-month parking spot.
Right. it's temporary, but, so, yes.
Yeah, I love that. And so on the subject of not parking and momentum and all of those kinds of things, I want to transition to the zebra shoes story.
Okay, so not only is there no parking, but I also am a very competitive person. I like to be number one. And so, we were, did I say second hunting? Is that okay?
Well, you just
So,
did.
we were like,
Cut that out in
kind
production.
of, yeah, sorry. That microphone picked that up. So, we were just like the redheaded stepchild of the group and so we, again, lower on production and all these kinds of things. And I'm like, we're gonna pick something we can be number one at. And what was right on the horizon that we could be number one at was we had the black and red ball every year. And we were gonna be number one in attendance to the black and red ball. And so the social and culture committee was on board and so it's kind of funny because Elsa, you can't read this, but so I said, look, if you guys get to number one, then you can dress me for the black and red ball. And so that was my first statement was y'all can pick what I wear, you can dress me to the black and red ball. Then they started talking about dresses and things like that. And I was like, okay, scratch that. You can accessorize my tuxedo. Okay, so hey gang, once again, you've beaten everybody else. This was my email to everybody. It says, we currently have 65 black and red ball registrations. We're beating Sugarloaf by 7 people. Okay, Sugarloaf was the mothership, I had Sugarloaf in my sights on everything, production, profit share. I'm like coming after you. And so I'm gonna be in some ridiculous red shoes because I told him like you hit this number, then I'm gonna wear funky shoes. But if you hit this number, like you be number one with funky shoes, but when you hit this number, you can accessorize. So I says, I'm gonna be in some ridiculous red shoes, but just 15 more and you get to accessorize. And my dear Elsa says, you just concentrate on being pimp daddy. And so Elsa smacked me back. She's like, hey, you focus on you, buddy, because we got this covered. And so zebra platform shoes. Platform shoes. And so in my younger days, I do have an earring hole, and I remember putting that big diamond stud earring in, and my kids going. And so I showed up to the black and the black and red ball is black tie. Hoity-toity. We're at the 755 Club at the Braves Fulton County Stadium. Okay, this is highfalutin thing, and I roll in like a pimp. And this is like the Cares for Kids thing, and Marcy's like, what are you doing? And so if you weren't part of our group, and our group was the coolest group ever.
Yes.
If you weren't part of our group, you looked at me saying, who is that guy? Who the heck is the pimp?
Actually, only I loved and hated that night all at the same time.
Oh yeah, I gotta tell this part of the story. So you show up to a party dressed like this and you get a lot of, can I take a picture with you requests? So all night long, women were coming up to me saying, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, of course. So the 755 Club is a long rectangle, and they had bars on either end. And so I'm all the way over at this one end of the thing, and 2 girls came up, and it was pretty deep in the night. And they said, can we take a picture with you? And I'm like, yes. So they get on either side and they do this number. And so I'm like looking at the person taking a picture, and I look across the room, like all the way across the room, and this one's going. And look, every man in the place and every woman in the place knows exactly the look I'm talking about. And I said, show's over, ladies. And I walked right out of that line.
I think you actually were
And I
taking your
started taking
shirt
things off.
and
because
stuff.
I choose to be married. And that was,
Probably a lot of pictures out
there were a lot of pictures. But it was just fun and we were competing and we were together and we were united. And we were united around a fun, entertaining goal. And then we showed up like a group, we showed up with the posse. We came on the scene and we dominated and we had a blast doing it.
That was super fun.
I never was
The
a
next
pimp
one.
again.
This office has always been a blast for all of y'all that have been here for any length of period of time. We set ourselves apart from so many other KW offices. Because we've always been close, and
That's
tight
true.
knit. And whether you're the most successful agent or the newest agent, everybody is here to help. And we love our Beaufort office.
It's a unique place.
It is.
I finally figured my lunch out. I'm done.
Thank
It
you,
is.
thank you for saying
Yeah.
that. And that's,
And again, that's from original, Teresa opened this place.
Mhm.
And so you've been here for every single season of this place. And you've been part of bringing the fun to everything. It's like the fun didn't live in me. The fun lives in all of us. We can choose to be a united group and show up together and have an absolute blast. Or we can choose to be individuals who just happen to be in the same office together. And it's way more fun when we show up together.
so after the girls got you to wear zebra shoes and Pimp Daddy stuff, you were kind
Touching
of,
my arm.
yeah. You were kind of unstoppable. I mean, we were gaining momentum. And at that point, that's when Callapalooza was born. That's when Club 33 was born. And so let's just talk a little bit about those things that began to happen.
So, look, everything's fun, but if you're not making money to put food on the table, it's not fun. So having a good, fun place sucks if you're in survival. And so that's why the culture of this group is productivity. Like, we're gonna have a great time as we go hard after what we're looking for. And so we just had a lot of productivity based events. Callapalooza was just, it was a big call day where we all got in here, we had prizes and you're banging the phone trying to set appointments. And when you get an appointment, you get prizes. And it's so funny because Scarlett was the MCA at the time and she's like, are we doing Callapalooza?
Yeah.
She's always like, call a loser. Scarlett, it's Callapalooza. It's not call up a loser. So we, and then Club 33, we got together in the beginning of the year. We're like, 33 Touch is the magic in this business. Having a database consistently communicated with is the path to success in this business. It has not changed one single bit. It's 2023 and 201 Club. We're doing 201 Club right now. The Club 33 was, we're all gonna get together once a month. You're gonna bring in your touches to this room right here and share. We're all shared with each other what we were sending to our databases. What were the touches? What's the response from them? What's the effectiveness of the campaigns that we were running? And true to the high-minded exchange of idea, the principle of plenty, we're not a scarcity, zero-sum game place where for me to win, you have to lose. We all help each other. And that's what we did with Club 33 is we just opened our playbook to each other every month. And look, there was a cost to play. If you didn't bring your touches, you didn't get through the door. So there's also high standards. So there's fun, but there's also high standards. And if you show up late, the door's closed. If you didn't bring your stuff, you don't get to come in. And so people showed up and they brought their stuff and they played all in and we shared. And that went on for a little, and then that little thing there's just the $ from the home of the six-figure agent.
Yeah.
And we built a lot of six-figure agents in this place.
Yes.
And we were always number 2, 3, or 4 in the region of 50-something offices for the productivity percentage in this market center. Productivity percentage is the number of people, the percentage of the agents who wrote a deal this month. You can have a group of top producers that create high numbers for an office. But if you have super low productivity, then you have a few successful people and a lot of people are hurting. And so we always had high productivity numbers and we were always competing at the highest level, top 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the region. And what that means is we had the right recipe. You come, you plug in, you do what you're supposed to do, participate, put the work in, you're going to be successful. And that's why we always had high productivity, because we had the right recipe and people participated.
Absolutely. So in 2012, you and Brian began to discuss what your next was going to be, your personal and professional growth,
Yep.
which would mean that you no longer could serve in the team leader capacity.
That's right.
And so, you know, as you have, obviously now you're not doing this anymore, what have you learned about succeeding through other people? Like how was that journey for you and what have you learned along the way?
Good question. So, yeah, I mean, it was bittersweet for me to leave the team leader role because while I'm the OP here, I'm not day to day in here rallying the troops and leading the charge. But again, we're all pursuing our goals in life and we're doing it together. Brian had a very, very linear organizational chart. He was the OP of 12 offices. He just bought the New York tri-state region and owned that. And like, there was just, his world got so big, so fast. And he didn't have any vertical development in his organizational chart. And so he needed someone to come in and walk the path beside him and help him to build and grow and lead the organization that he had founded. And so I met with him and it's also worth noting that, and I know we're banging up against the time here, but it sounds fun, it sounds like success and everything. At the same time through this, we had some really significant turmoil in our family and with some of our children and we went to family counseling and had to seek professional help on certain things that were beyond our equipping in life. And that Christian counselor gave us amazing tools and strategies. And through prayer and good strategies, the Lord helped to right those things in our family. And completely, that also completely changed the trajectory of our family. And so I don't want to just be like, oh, it's all fun and games, everything was awesome, you know, because we all have a story, we all have struggles. There's all of us, there's something below the surface that we could choose to have it derail us. But we didn't, we sought help for those things. And through the love and amazing skills of other people who know these things, were able to pour into us. And then we're able, again, through the grace of God to do those things. So Brian did need me and we created an arrangement. He created an amazing arrangement for me to purchase a portion of this market center, become the operating partner here. And then a couple of years after that, a couple of other market centers, and then a little bit after that to walk alongside him to lead the entire organization, and then acquiring and launching other KW offices. And so we've grown quite a bit since 2009, and it just has been an awesome opportunity for me to do that. And you guys are still my OG. Like, this is where I landed. I grew up. I love you guys. This is a special place right here. So.
And so my last question is, you know, you always refer to North Gwinnett lovingly as your peeps. And if you guys were here in the room, Michelle?
I just interrupt you, but I wanted to say, Alex, my daughter, was pretty much raised at this office, and the day we found out Jason was leaving, she came up to me, she would have been about 8 or 9 at the time, she said, "Oh, Mommy, what are we gonna do? He's the best boss we've ever had."
That comment right there just filled my heart, still fills my heart. Like, that, when she told me that, there's tears in my eyes. I mean, and it's never, relationship with y'all is never a means to an end. It is what it is. I love you guys. I want you to succeed. Always have, always will. And that statement was just so special to me. We laughed about it and also, brought tears to my eyes at the same time. Mom is the best boss, man.
But you do, when we talk about, I know North Gwinnet's the correct term, we say Buford just because, but, you call this group of people your peeps. If you guys were in the room, I think it was your very first team meeting, you walked into boxes of peeps at your desk.
Because it was like Easter time.
It was Easter time and, he was like, y'all are my peeps. And now I'm gonna be emotional.
And not only was it heartwarming and fun, but it was also, I was pointing at the fence. I was at the plate pointing at the fence. Because the statement of "you're my peeps," if you recall, you were in the room, a lot of you were. I also had some sunglasses on. Because the future is so bright, we're gonna need shades. And I was playing that music. And we had peeps, and you're my peeps. And the future is so bright, we're gonna need shades. And so I had that music playing, my sunglasses, everybody had sunglasses and peeps.
So what would you have as any final thoughts for your peeps in this season of life?
You guys, opportunities everywhere. And join in and participate in what we have built and what we're continuing to build here. Dara is leading the charge in an amazing way right now, with clear eyes and a full heart. The Friday Night Lights thing, it's like she's got clear eyes and a full heart, and she is leading the charge in this place. And I see her leadership, and I see her leadership so much and so similar to the way that my leadership was when I first came into this place. Full of just vision and hope and knowing the path to get there. And so I would say to you, join in, participate, be part of this group. Again, I told you, I'm not the fun one. We are fun together. And it does require leadership to gather the people together to have fun. And we're going to go after our goals. You have opportunity to do amazing things in this marketplace. This is a shift. There's going to be a cleansing of our industry. We have pulled back, the transaction sides have pulled back, but there's tons of opportunity. The pullback is not a stop or a shutdown. And so skills-based, activities-based, your ability to go and do business. And here's the thing, the market has slowed down, but that does not mean that you have to. So no parking. It's time to go after it and go after it together and share best practices and strategies. Get in here together and encourage each other to do what you need to do. Help each other to tell the mantras and talk to yourself instead of listening to yourself. And come in and be a part of what we do here, because we do have the answer. We do have the answers here. We have the formula. We have the system. Success in this business is not complicated at all. It's very simple. It's just not easy. And look, you choose your heart, okay? It's hard to do what you need to do to be successful. Or you cannot do what you need to do to be successful and your financial life suck, and that's hard too. I'd rather choose the hard that leads to the path of success and success with amazing people than to choose the hard that leads me on a path of ruin and destruction. So it's hard, so what? Let's have a good time while we go after it. So, and then these are just amazing people that have come after me. And each person there led this group of people, and I passed the baton, and then each person passed the baton on through that chain of amazing people till now. Dara is the one that has the absolute honor, and Dara will tell you how I talk about team leader and the opportunity of team leader. It is one of the best opportunities on the face of the planet to
100%.
get to be a team leader of a market center, and especially of this market center. And so I've loved the ride. It's been amazing, never without its challenges, tons of stories of challenges, but we just don't talk about those, you know?
Right, thank you for sharing with us. All right, you guys, thank you so much for taking this journey with us today. I hope that you feel inspired and it reminds you a little bit of why you're here. And tomorrow, Brian Farrell will be here with us, and he's gonna share even more history about this particular location and kind of how they started. I think that's super important. You know, you can't share why we're special unless you kind of know. You know, Teresa, if I can just call you out for a second, you are wonderful at sharing our story. You've been here, you've watched the ride. And so for those of us that haven't been here the whole time, I think educating on like where we've come from, how we got to where we are, helps us tell our story so much better. So Brian will be here with us tomorrow. Wednesday, we're going to hear from some of our leadership in the past, kind of what they've learned, how this place has impacted them. And then Thursday, Dara is going to share with us her incredible vision for the future. And then Friday, we're going to eat, which is like super fun. I mean,
We've done a lot of that over the years.
we have
too.
done a lot of that over the years too. So if you know of somebody that needs to be a part of this that isn't here today, or you haven't heard from them, would you guys all commit to reaching out and sharing how you feel today with them? That would mean a lot to us, because we want to share this with everybody and let them know why this place is so special.
And if I could just, if you would indulge me for just one moment longer. There are a lot of faces in this room who were here during this beginning time. If you were here, please stand up. I would love to acknowledge you. Marcy, Michelle. So
Awesome.
NSEPCO always has a great reputation of ending up in the wrong city for family reunions. Or hotels booked for the wrong dates.
Flight leaves in the morning instead of the night, which I think that's a story too. Yeah.
But she looks like $1 million.
Always. Kelly Hubbard.
Track.
Did you stand up, Kelly? Did you stand up?
Stand up, Kelly.
Kelly Hubbard? Kelly, were you here when we went to the fire building?
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you very much.
After the fire building.
You were here.
Yeah, you were here. you were
Give
here.
Kelly a hand.
So talk to these folks. They have also fond memories and stories about this place.
All right, thank y'all for being here.